Lovra, welcome to the show. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm really good.
And you are in Berlin today. This is such a British thing, right? How is the weather in Berlin today?
Today it's pretty nice. The sun is shining, blue sky. I can see it right now. But in winter, Berlin is super cold.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my
it's
my
rain.
friend
Really,
lives
really great.
my friend lives in Berlin, and we used to live together years ago, and he says now like the differences are so much more pronounced. So the winters are so much colder than the UK, and the summers are so much hotter and warmer, which sounds really nice, to be honest. I'm going to kick us off with a few kind of quick fire questions. They don't need to be one word answers, but they're just to kind of break the ice and get things going. And what I'd like to ask you is, post COVID, everything's gone away. We can all party again. We're not putting a timestamp on it, but it's fine. So the answers to these questions are post COVID, everyone's fine to come and party and dance and be healthy. It's okay. If that party just happened to be tonight, what do you think the first record back you would play? So you get into that DJ booth, you see the crowd, it's the first gig back in months. What's the first record you reach for to play to yourself and to people?
That's a really, really good question, though. I mean, I would start like usual, a little more chill, so with some good vibes. So maybe I would prefer to play from Casey Light's Girls.
Nice.
Yeah, that maybe would be my first record.
Nice. If I don't know if this is something you do regularly, but it's my podcast, so I get to ask the questions that I want the answers to. So, again, post COVID, everything's fine. You've got a gig, first gig back, but the rules set by me mean that you have to play this first gig back as a back to back with someone, any artist in the world, dead or alive. But I just want you to pick an artist who you think you would have kind of the most fun with. Like, and you would be like going to the club or the festival or wherever, and you would be like, yes, this is going to be so much fun, two on, two off for a few hours, and we're going to have the best time.
Oh, there are a couple of nice artists I would love to.
Go for it.
Wow. I have to pick a couple. Maybe Clapton. I mean,
Nice.
I know him, so I know it's super fun with him. Or Jack Jones. He's always so
Nice.
fun. I really like him. And yeah, I would love to. Actually, I would love to play with Mark Knight
Cool.
because I like his style and his attitude. It's so cool to, yeah, to
Nice.
get.
I think they are three wicked answers. I feel like Clapton was playing at the club that I'm a resident at, Digital, right before. It must have been one of the gigs before lockdown, because I think it's one of the last. You know, all those pictures we all get when it's like you and whoever's playing in the booth, and you like get a quick selfie. And I feel like it's one of the last one of those pictures on my Instagram account, which isn't one of those COVID pictures when we're all like, "Oh, remember
Yeah.
the time and take us back." I think it was like the last authentic like clubbing photo, which is sad. So you're going to your first set back. You've played that, maybe that Casey Lights thing, whether it's been a back to back or not. What's the last track you play of this first set back to kind of maybe sum up the emotion of what we've all been through? I mean, I can only imagine the happiness and the joy of those first few parties back when people get to dance together and we get to DJ to those people. Is there a record that you feel like might make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up and give you that emotion as that final record of the first setback?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I would play a record who's a little bit, yeah, it's also coming down a little bit more and maybe a little bit melancholic. so that we can't wait to have the joy again next week.
I love kind of, I don't know if you get it as much in house music, but I love kind of music that makes you feel happy but also kind of cry at the same time.
Of course, I'm so into it. I love it. So, yeah.
For me, it's a lot of like, I think I kind of heard Noel Gallagher say it once about he likes music that you've got one fist in the air but you've got tears running down your cheeks. And I love records like that.
Do you have a recommendation of it? What's your favorite?
I don't know. I think they're so personal, right? And I think the other thing which has made me super aware of releasing music and writing music this year has been that music exists. Music becomes the tracks that we love and the tracks that make us or make us cry or have memories. It's because we did something when that music was playing. We fell in love, we fell out of love, we met somebody, we were the sun was coming up, the sun was going down, it was the last night of a holiday, it was the first night of a holiday. And like, that's why this year I don't think music has been created in the same way that music has been created in previous years, because it's also created by communal activities, like being on a dance floor together and all that kind of stuff. So the records that make me cry might not make you cry because they were records that something happened to me or they were a time of my life or something. So this is the last one of the kind of quick fire questions, but is there a party? Can you kind of retrace in your life, is there a party or an event or a club that has been really pivotal in your career as a DJ and an artist? Is there a moment where you can kind of trace it all back to when something happened in your head and you were like, I'm going to be a DJ, I'm going to be an artist, that's what I want to do, that's who I want to be?
Yeah. I have a lot of kind of these moments. For example, when I was 18, I had one of my raves in Frankfurt in Germany, and one of the biggest underground clubs. It was a techno rave. And so I was so impressed. It was the first time that it was an underground club, and it was techno, and it was super rough. And yeah, it was for me super, super nice to see the DJ, how he's reacting with the crowd. And yeah, so when I was standing there, I was like, wow, that's so nice to have this connection with the people with your music. So that was one of the moments when I was 18. I felt like, okay, one day I want to have a connection as well, like this connection. For me, it's like my drug to be on stage. So to have the connection, to share my music, to create memories. Like you said, some people I met there fall in love and, being best friends forever. And to create this kind of memories and to have this connection with everyone is, I know, I can't describe this feeling because it's the most amazing feeling for me. It's pure love. It's so, so, so pure. And
And I think that's an amazing answer. One of the reasons I ask it is because it keeps reinforcing with me like a thought that I had, which is we have to keep remembering this as DJs, because sometimes we've done 2 gigs, we've been on a delayed flight, the promoter may have put us in the wrong hotel, or we were picked up late, or we were picked up early. But we have to remember that like when we get there, when we start playing, someone's having that experience. Like maybe it might only just be one person, but one person is in that club for the first time experiencing that. And we should remember that is what happens all the time, and people have those moments. And just because, and I'm not saying you here, but just because older people think that their moment was better because it was, back there, or it was in this club, or that DJ was playing, like we don't get to judge that. Like that experience is that experience for whoever is in front of us. I want to take you I want to take you right back before releasing records, before DJing, before that moment in Frankfurt. I want to take you right back to being a child. And I want to ask you about the first musical influences which you would have had. Like, what music was being played when you were a small child before you were choosing it? Who was playing it? Like parents, siblings? What was being played to you before you could choose?
My parents were big fans of, for example, The Who, Led Zeppelin, and also Pink Floyd. And I love Pink Floyd and Michael Jackson Thriller. I really can remember it. And
The album cover, right, is so memorable. That album cover of like,
love it. So yeah, it was kind of rock. Yeah, it was The Who and stuff like that. Yeah. So and also when I was a teenager, I was listening to, of course, to Nirvana and stuff like that. I mean, like everyone in that age. And then I came to.
Well, can you remember? Just because I like to go through this little bit by little bit. Can you remember the first piece of music that was yours? Can you remember the first piece of music that either was given to you or that you bought with pocket money or whatever? Can you remember the first bit of music that you felt like, this is mine and I keep it in my room and I can play it when I want to play it? Like, what was that bit of music?
Actually, it was Santana.
Yes.
That was my first record. My mom was buying it for me, and so I was really in love with Santana. So that was my first record.
And you were saying then you were listening to kind of hip hop as you were getting a little bit older? Yeah,
and then after my rock and crunch time, I was coming a little more into hip hop, and and then, of course, I came into the electronic scene. So my friends starting to listen also to electronic music, and we were going to parties to Frankfurt and Cologne, and it was also super exciting for me. You know, I come from the countryside. There's absolutely nothing. So for me, it was always super nice to, okay, now it's Friday again, and let's go. Where's the next party? So
when I was a child, see if you know this. When I was a child, I used to live in Bielefeld. Do you know where that is?
It's not far away. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I was in. So when I was in India, I was doing a gig in Goa, and Tajamo was playing. And he's from Bielefeld. So we were laughing. I was like, how strange that we've both traveled from different parts of the world to be in Goa, and we both were in Bielefeld. So do you remember the first time that you were talking about these parties that you were going to, but do you remember the first time that you were really aware that somebody was a DJ? Somebody's job was to select music, mix music by them, themselves physically. Like, do you remember the first time you saw that? Because it's so easy to see that now with YouTube and with Instagram, but it wasn't as easy like when we were younger. And so do you remember the first time that you saw someone DJing, that you were aware that was happening?
Yeah, it was with Boys Noise.
Wow, that's a good first experience.
It was with Boys Noise, but back in the days his name was Kid Alex.
Yep, Alex, yep.
So, and I loved this music so much. It was kind of electronic and pop, and I loved his voice. And by the beginning, I didn't know it was his voice. And then, so it was my first music crush. And then I started to make research. Who's Kid Alex? And I was listening to the music and was going more into it. So, that was the first time I realized.
Have you met him? Have you met him since? Have you met him since you've been doing what you're doing?
I mean, I saw him a couple of gigs, and but
did you tell him? Did you tell him that he was your music crush?
No, I never had the chance to talk with him. He came from Berlin. He's not living far away from me. Well, maybe one day we'll see him on a party, and then I will say, "Hey, listen, you're my first music crush, and you're a big influence." So yeah. Of course I will do. Of course I will do.
So when you saw, was it as early as that when you saw Kid Alex going on to Be Boys Noise? When you saw him, was that moment kind of then? Were you like, wow, I want to do this? Or were you just still living through a kind of a period of clubbing and going to gigs and enjoying stuff? Or were you quite focused, not focused, but were you quite like, wow, I need to do this? Because my memory is like the first time that I saw a DJ, I just spent the entire night in the corner of the DJ booth, peering over. All my friends were out in the club. I didn't leave the corner of the DJ booth. I couldn't work out what was going on. I didn't know what they were doing. I just knew that I was mesmerized, and I knew that I had to do that somehow. Like, was that the same feeling for you?
Yeah, so I also was always looking like, what is he doing with all these buttons? And so I was looking at this, and when I started to do a YouTube channel, and was Deep House, and was searching for new artists on SoundCloud and put the music on YouTube. You know, back in the days was a big thing. So and my channel was growing and growing and growing, and then I started also to make research of all these DJs. I mean, I had DJs and in my list. Yeah, back in the days, I had now 500 followers on SoundCloud, and right now they're one of the biggest, the first row DJs. And it makes me also proud to see that my A&R work was doing well. And and then I was starting to make research of all these DJs, and it was so interesting. All of them were so different, but it's at the end they were doing all the kind of same music. So, and it was so interesting to see which culture and what is the influence, and what is the passion of them and stuff like this. And also I started to chat with them to get more information.
Tell me a couple of those DJs. Tell me a couple of those DJs that kind of caught your interest back then. What were the couple of DJs that you started to research and stuff?
Klangkarussell. They were not big at this time.
Yeah.
So Klangkarussell, Robin Schulz, Kygo was not big at all. Mö, the singer Mö, and my ex-boyfriend Klangkünstler. And so I met him because of my channel, and because of him, I became more infos also how to produce, how to make a DJ set and stuff like that. And one day, I will never forget, I woke up and I was like, Laura, there are just boys in your list and just boys on your YouTube. So where are the girls? There were no girl, for example, in Germany, no one. So, and that's why I started to produce my stuff. And then I was putting every month a new track on SoundCloud or a new mixtape to.
So had you started producing before you were DJing, or had you started DJing before you'd started producing?
Yeah, I started to produce before I started to DJ. Yeah.
So what did you talk me through? And especially, I mean, I had this conversation with a good friend of mine called Dave Tracy. He is a radio DJ in Ireland. He has a show on RTE. He's covering for Pete Tong on New Year's Day on Radio 1. We were talking about some of the music he was going to play. And he said to me, it's so hard to find music that's not from white men. Like, it's so hard to find that music. And even on this podcast, I mean, I've spoken to Hannah Lang in the past. I've spoken to Nadia Lucy in the past. I've got Helen Dickinson coming up. But again, like, I spend a lot of time looking to represent all corners of our community. And it's not always easy to get, to do that. But for anyone who's listening, and especially if any, young girls are listening because they've seen your name or because you've shared it, just talk us through how you got into producing music. Like, what were the first steps that you took? Did you do any online courses? What was the first bits of software you got? And just explain it in a way that, like I say, if there's any young girls or young guys listening, how they could look at planning that journey out as well.
I mean, I was lucky that I had back in the days my boyfriend, he was producing. So he said, okay, download Ableton. So, and then I started to watch YouTube videos like crazy, and he was giving me lessons a lot. So I'm super thankful for this, because he's a really, really great artist and producer. So, and I learned a lot. So this is how it started, and you have to keep on all the time. And I mean, after years, Ableton is still sometimes a misery. So yeah, so you have to keep on. So be hungry, and watch.
What was the sort of stuff that you've name checked quite a few people for so far? Obviously your ex-boyfriend, obviously Boys Noise, obviously you mentioned people like Kygo. I don't know how far off this was from Love Sensation, which was the first track that you've got on Beatport, but what were the first types of music that you were trying to produce? What did you want to produce at first? What sort of sounds were you trying to produce?
So my influence is from UK. So I really love the UK house, the UK vibe. It's a little bit more bouncy and always a groove. So it's always groovy. You can sit in a chair. You have to move. And yeah, so I started since day one to have a kind of style of UK. So, and then I was listening to a lot of UK artists, and I had a lot of luck. So after 1 or 2 tracks, Ministry of Sound found me on SoundCloud, and they were calling me on Skype, and we had to chat, and they said, hey, we really love your stuff. You want to be our artist? And I was like, what the hell? As a German in the UK market, it's not easy. It's not easy at all. So, it was one of the most exciting moments at the beginning when Ministry of Sound was calling me.
And how did that, we'll come back to other stuff, but as you mentioned Ministry, how did that journey unfold? Like, did you sign a deal to release music? What did they start getting you to do tour DJ gigs? How did that relationship with Ministry unfold?
At the beginning, it was just me. It was putting music on SoundCloud, and so I had no release. And my first track on SoundCloud was a track, a remix of Marvin Gaye, Let's Get It On.
Nice.
Yeah, and I was super lucky because he had a lot of plays in such a short time, and no one had a clue who was Lovra. So everyone thought at the beginning, oh, it's a guy. Of course it's a guy. Yeah.
It's a white guy.
There were no picture of me and stuff. It was just Lovra, and then I started to write everywhere, "Girl from Berlin," that everyone.
I was going to ask. So, did you do that on purpose at first? Like at first, did you do it on purpose to not have a picture?
No, but I don't know. I had not a good picture, or I don't know. It was not necessary for me to put a picture on me. It's from me everywhere. It was not necessary. It was about music.
Good.
So, and then one day the song was not on my platform anymore. And I was like, oh, fuck. And I got an email from Universal LA. I was like, oh, shit. I mean, as we know, it's not allowed to make a remix or a remake of a famous track. So, yeah, but I was lucky that they wrote me that, okay, it's not allowed. But we really love this track, and so we want to release it. I was like, what? That's crazy. And yeah, actually that was one of my first releases on Universal. Yeah. And then one thing came to another. And after, I think it was just 3 months, I got my, I started to put music on my YouTube channel at the beginning of 2015 or December 2014, something like that. And then after 3 months, I got my first request of my first real DJ gig.
So this really interests me. Prior to this request, had you been practicing? Had you been learning? Or was it request came in, oh no, I have to learn? What happened?
No, I started to DJ, but I was at the beginning, I mean, and you know, yeah, nothing is really tight, and you're still thinking, okay, what kind of records are fit together, and yeah. So how I create a vibe, you know, you have to learn, you have to practice. And then I asked a friend of mine. He has a hip hop club in Berlin. It's a very small one, and I asked him, hey. I started to DJ house music, and I really want to practice and how to see how do people react. He said, you know, it's an R&B hip hop club. And he said, yeah, I know, but I mean, I can manage it. So let's try. And then he said, okay, so no fee, nothing. You just can play there. And and I was there. Oh my gosh, you can't believe it. My heart was, I don't know, 1,000. And I was so excited, and of course, not nothing, but a lot of tracks were not really tight. But all my friends were there, and we had a good time. So, and this experience was so nice for me to be on the decks and to play music, even if it was not tight but it was so amazing. And then I keep on to play sometimes there. Just to practice, and as we know that all the CDJs and mixers are super expensive, so I had not the money to buy CDJs, of course not. And I studied communication design, so everything was graphic design. And then I learned the people from one of the clubs in Berlin called Magdalena. It's not there anymore, but it was one of the biggest here in Berlin. And I asked them, hey, you need graphic designer? You need some stuff? And they said, yeah, let's do this. And I got old CDJs and an old mixer of them. They paid me with CDJs.
Nice.
So then I could learn here at home. Yeah, so every day practice. So with Ableton and YouTube on the other side.
You're busy. So what was that first gig like then? Where was that first gig? What was the venue? What were you playing? Just talk us through it. It's super interesting.
Also, this was so lucky. And my first request was a really good underground club in Germany. It is called Das Zimmer in Mannheim.
Nice.
And and I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, that for the first gig, that's something, yeah. So, as I was super excited, but I learned like crazy until my first gig, yeah. So, and still now, every year I celebrate my DJ birthday there.
Oh, that's amazing. That's such a nice story. And how did that first gig go? Like, do you have positive memories of it? Was it super nerve-wracking? Was it, do you feel like you did yourself justice? Like, were you happy with it? I mean, obviously we all get better. We're always learning, but do you look back on that really happily and be like, yeah, I think that was a really great show?
You know, it was a really great show. So I had hands up moments and everyone was clapping their hands at the end. So it was a successful night. And I felt like, oh, wow, I'm so high. Yeah, because this energy was bringing me to another level. So, and I said, okay, I want more. I want more.
So I take you back to sort of post that gig, right? So a couple of days or whatever, you've got back from that first gig. What's in your head? Are you thinking, I need to get straight back on Ableton and make loads more music? Are you thinking, wow, now I want to DJ all the time? Like, I want to DJ every weekend. Was there a plan? Like, did you have management? Like, at that point, just that post that first gig, what was your kind of, are we talking like 2015, 2016 here?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
What was your plan? Like, how did you continue to thrive in this industry?
I spent always a lot of time and money to go to parties where successful people are, and all the DJs. It doesn't matter where and how much, and so I always try to get connected with these people. So I spent a lot of time with it, and also I was writing emails and was always putting my music, my SoundCloud link, and hey, blah blah blah, and it was really crazy with this. But at the end, it was super good because my manager, Stefan Dabruck, found me.
How did that relationship begin?
So yeah, one day I got a call. And said, "Hey, you're Stefan Dabruck, and I like your stuff. I would love to work with you." And I was like, "What?" So then after this call, I really had to cry a little because I knew that it will be a next chapter. This is high level management right now. So and everything changed from that moment. I started to play Ibiza. I started to play Tomorrowland, and everything was going crazy. So yeah.
Did they, when you signed up, because lots of people will have lots of different experiences of management. Lots of people will think that they need management. What was your experience? Did they sort of put a plan in front of you? Did they sort of tell you to do things, or did they just open doors for you and you still retain the kind of, creative drive? Because your Instagram has a certain look, your music has a certain sound. Like, is that all you? Was that planned with the management, or did the management only really just open the doors to more gigs and more record labels? What was that journey like with the management so far?
So yeah, I mean, it's a teamwork. It's a teamwork. But on my socials, it's just my thing. So Instagram, Facebook is my thing. But with music wise, of course, we're talking about, okay, I said, okay, this is what I want. I want to do piano house right now. I do a little change. I want to go more into tech house, more clubby, and I'm doing a transformation at the moment. So, of course, we talk about it and think about what is it right now the best decision, what kind of ways we can do, what's the goal at the end. So, and Stefan gave me an amazing team. So every day I have contact with them, and we're sharing ideas, and they say, okay, do you like this top line? And do you want to work with this artist, and you want to do a remix there? And so
what were some of those goals? You mentioned like goals. So what were some of the goals which you, not so much them, what were some of the goals that you said, this is what I want to achieve?
I mean, every one of us want to have at the end a big hit, but I don't make any pressure of myself. So if I will have a gig one day, a hit one day, okay, then I will be super happy and thankful. But for me, it's more important to be always constantly there, to play good shows, to play with amazing artists, to grow slowly but constantly and not too crazy, because I don't want to fall down. It's I want to be there all the time, and I'm super happy where I am right now. But of course, there's a lot of space still where I can get, and I'm really working hard for it. But my goal is to be constantly there and to play shows till I'm 80 years old.
Amazing. So if we split it off into two sides, and I'll come back to the records and the production in a moment, but you mentioned some pretty amazing names about DJ gigs like Tomorrowland and Ibiza. If you pick one or two of those sort of your favorite shows that you've done so far, hit me with a couple of those sort of moments when you've been stood playing somewhere and gone, fuck, like this is happening. Talk me through a couple of those really big pivotal gigs so far in your career.
I have a lot of crazy moments. It's super hard to pick just a couple, but of course, Ibiza, Ushuaia was David Guetta. The first show, where I was on stage, and I was like, okay, this is real. This is gonna happen here right now. And for Tomorrowland, of course. But I also had a lot of nice moments in small clubs.
Sure.
It's not about to have thousands of people in front of you. I mean, it's amazing, but it's another vibe, because all these people, when you see just little heads over there, it's harder to catch them,
Yeah.
And you're in smaller clubs and or smaller underground clubs. You also can try another kind of style of your music, or you can practice in another way. And the connection is also totally different because they're super close to you. You can give high five and you have another vibe. And this is also what I really, really love. Just and that's more in team and yes.
Yeah, I'm certainly not Martin Garrix and haven't toured the world playing big stages, but I've played a lot of big stages to a lot of people. And I've always enjoyed the gigs more when they have been sort of less pressurized, when you are sort of in a smaller club, or you are maybe doing a warm up, or maybe you're on after the headliner, or like when it feels like there's not as much pressure, is for me anyway, when I've sort of relaxed and let it kind of go a little bit more. When those big shows, I tend to kind of come off and go, what just happened? Like, I feel like I kind of go through it slightly more robotically on those big shows. Like, I feel like I know I have to hit certain points at certain points, and I have to play certain records. And when I've enjoyed DJing the most is when I've just sort of let it go. There's not as much pressure. Like you say, you're closer to people, and it's it's normally 3 to 6 in the morning, like after that kind of peak point of the night, and there's just you and the hardcore people left, and the champagne drinking posers have all kind of disappeared, and it becomes like so much more loose, and you can reach further back for music, and you can go a little bit stranger and a little bit, or even a little bit more obvious. You feel, I was talking to Sander Kleinenberg on Monday for an episode, and he was talking about his residency in New York, and he was saying, like, by the time you get to 6 a.m, like, he's like, I think he said I finished on Toto Africa one morning at like 6 a.m. and the sun was coming up and there was only a few people there, but he said it just felt so freeing to be able to do that, like at that time of the morning. So it felt good. So records wise, I'm aware of some of your stuff on Let There Be House, which my friend Glenn runs. Talk me through. Yeah, he's an amazing guy. Talk me through. He only lives like just down the road from me. He's not too far away. But talk me through, because we all have these, like, talk me through some of your favorite records that you've released. Like, because it's not always, we'll talk about the latest thing, we'll talk about stuff that you want to promote. But now it's like, I would like to hear you talk about one of the records that really either is your favorite or means the most to you. Like, it might be from last week or it might be from 5 years ago, but is there a record that stands out to you as being really special to you?
I mean, right now my records have, the quality was going higher, but from every record, of course. But I have super nice memories of some stuff I did back in the days. For example, my record was on the label of Tough Love, Love Fever.
Yeah.
And that was also a really emotional thing for me because Tough Love, they pushed me since day one. And all the UK guys pushed me from day one, and I was like, okay, they have no clue about me, and I'm from Germany, and it was so crazy that also the guys from Let There Be House, they always want to make a record with me, and I was like, one played on their parties, and I'm super thankful for every support from the UK, because this is the way I want to go. UK, this is where I feel home. And Love Fever, and but also my record from last year, Straight Lovin'. It's super housey and uplifting and good vibes, and it's about big love and that you have a good time. It reminds me always on my love and in the summertime, and you have a good time dancing, and this makes me always a good feeling as well. Yeah.
Amazing. If we'd had this chat in like January this year, and let's just say that we weren't super aware of global health crisis is. But we'd had this chat in January, and I'd been like, Lovra, what's happening this year? What are you going to be doing? Where are you going to be playing? What music are you going to be releasing? What would you have told me if we'd had this chat in January? What did 2020 look like for you before the shitstorm of COVID hit?
Yeah, a little bit more busy than the year before. More crazy festivals as well, and yeah, hopefully more shows in UK. So, because I'm also still working close with some guys from Ministry. I mean, as you know, Ministry has no booking anymore, but I'm still working with them close because they're still working in that scene. And yeah, also record-wise, a lot of stuff. But I have to say one thing. If I had no Corona time, maybe I would not do the transformation from this kind of house music I was producing before into tech house, more clubby. So right now I said, okay, we have time right now to start slowly my transformation, and not everyone is going crazy. Oh my God, she's going more into underground. But right now it's getting slower and slower more into the club stuff. So, and also I decided to do new stuff, not just music. I also want to start my own podcast and at the beginning of next year. So as a woman, and to tell everything from my side and to have nice guests as well. So I will come back to you.
Nice.
And so to have to always keep going.
Yeah, you've come on to which would have been my next question really, which was, so when things hit and when things were cleared from your diary, did you change any releases? Like, so I can see that you have like a release sort of around May time, a couple of releases there. I don't know if they just came out on compilations, but did you have any releases that were moved? Like, did you have any releases that were scheduled which were moved because of COVID, or did everything that you have signed to come out?
No, you also know it. It's always a struggle. Sometimes then right before the release, the singer said, no, I don't want to do it anymore. And, I had that right now. So next month I was supposed to have a release, and I saying, no, I don't want to be anymore. And then of course it's always something. It's not always straight. It's always up and down, left and right. But it's okay for me. My whole life was like this. So up and down, left and right, and jump. And so it's all right. But of course, it's not always like, okay, this is the track, we're going to release it then. And no, it's not always like this.
So what was some of and I think it's really interesting because I've just signed a new management contract. I have, potentially, in a way, I'm trying to use the break to reboot, to restart, like, slightly alter music. There's records that I have that they weren't actually signed, but there was a couple of labels that said they wanted them, and I've just decided now, like, no, I don't want to release that sound anymore. Like, going into 2021, that's not the sound that I want. So I think there is a lot of artists that will have used this time to reboot, reset, slightly tinker with brands, like how it looks, how it sounds. Why did you make the decision to, as you put it, I'm just taking your words, but why did you take the decision to go a little bit more techier and a little bit clubbier? What was the thought process behind that from you? Did that come from you, or did it come from management, or was it a bit of both?
It comes 100% from my side. I mean, of course, I say, hey, it's cool, do it. But I always played house and tech house. Since day one, I play house and tech house at my shows. So also before, when I played for David Guetta, I was playing this sound because he said, okay, Laura, I want to have someone who's playing house music and not someone who's playing hardstyle or EDM, that kind of stuff. So I always was playing what I feel. And this is the most important thing. If you're not playing your music, what you feel, what is your passion for, then you can't give this energy to your crowd. And yeah, so I always, since day one, I feel tech house. And also I like also going to techno parties and stuff like that. You know, it's so now I have time to do this transformation, like I said, and I really feel more this tech house, kind of, you know, Dennis Cruz or something like that, more or Houseworks. By the way, one of my favorite producers, or you know, this is or yeah, this Tool Room Family, Glasgow Underground.
I was just emailing Colin this morning.
Say hi. Say
Yeah,
hi.
he's not very well. He's not very well. So I don't know what's up with him. But yeah, he's not very well. Tell me about the podcast, right? So this is super interesting. Tell me about your plans for it. Do you have a name for it? What's it going to be about? What would you like it to become? Just, yeah, sell it. If it's going to come soon, tell us all about it.
Yes, I want to talk, of course, about nightlife and festival stuff, and all my guests should come from this industry. Could be also a barkeeper, or security, a DJ, producer, event managers, catering. I don't know. You know, everyone can tell a story. Yeah. So I want to do this, and I also want to have someone on my show from time to time, a therapist, that she will be there and you can ask her stuff. Because for me, I saw a lot of DJ struggling this year. I mean, you always see producers and musicians or creative people struggling, and no one is talking about it, this problem. Of course, sometimes I say, okay, I have a burnout, or now I need my time for myself, I need a break, and but talk about it, you know, because so many people out there have the same stuff, and also me, you know, I have times I'm always struggling, you know. We are creative people. We always want to do 100%, but this is not necessary. You don't have to do 100%. No one on this world have to do 100%. So if you can't sleep, if you have overthinking all the time, or, you know, struggling what's going on next year because of Corona, you know, this is also when it's no Corona, what's going on next year. So is my music right? Does the people love me? So maybe my show was shit. So, and you sit in your hotel room and you think, fuck, this show was so shit. What can I do right now? So we need to talk more about this stuff. Or when it's super crazy with traveling, you know, the people are always seeing good stuff. You know, they're seeing, okay, we're on a plane and we're going into our show and having good times and love, peace, and harmony. But you don't see everything behind the doors. Yeah. You know, when we're alone at the hotel room, when we miss flights, when we have no sleep, when we have to struggle with crazy people. And, you know,
do you think, I have a question for you, right? I think all that is amazing, and I will be listening, because I don't always think people understand the loneliness, the anxiety, the fear, you know, all of that stuff. And I know that lots of people outside of our industry feel that as well, but we're talking about our industry, so that's where we're at. But so do you think, and here's a question for you, do you think me and you, right, this is just a little pact between me and you, do you think next year you and I should post on our Instagram pictures of us looking like, the second that I just get an email back from the label, my dream label, and they say, yeah, really nice record, but we're going to pass this time. Should I post a picture on Instagram with my head in my hands saying, I'm feeling really down. I thought this was a great track, but it's been turned down. I don't know if it's any good. I don't know if I should just delete it. Because I'm not talking about you now, but all we do as an industry is post those pictures when we feel great. Like, we only post the pictures when we're on the plane, at the gig, like signing a contract. We're number one on Beatport. Like, should we be more honest on Instagram about how we feel?
This is a really good question. I was asking this myself a couple of times. because sometimes I would love to share. Fuck, now the singer was saying no, or they said no to my track, or they canceled my show. And I know, of course, I'm really thinking about it right now. I would love to share more honest, but is this what the people want to see? I don't know.
Because we also don't want to, and I think this has also been quite prevalent this year, because some of us are lucky enough to live quite fortunate lives in normal times, as far as doing what we love, playing music, living a certain level of life of which we enjoy. So people who've lost their jobs this year and people who've really struggled this year don't want to see poor old fucking DJs complaining about stuff. And I don't even know if in real life, so forget COVID, I don't know if in 3 years' time people still want to see pictures of me like in an airport looking like shit, like the plane's been delayed, like I'm gonna miss the next gig, like my record's just been turned down, the singer's just pulled out of the track. I don't know if people want to read
scenario.
Yeah, I don't know if people want to read a big post from me going, oh, I feel so sorry for myself right now.
This is also what I think. It's more like, oh my God, this is your problem, really. You're on big stages in the world and you see great people, and this is your problem right now. Of course, I think this is not what someone wants to see, of course. Yeah, so let's keep it happy and good vibes on the socials. Yeah.
And then we'll just talk about our problems on your podcast. We'll come to you. We'll let it all out, and we'll get some help and advice.
But I saw this year a lot of DJs. They were stepping back on the socials. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure they were not doing it because they had no content. It was more about, I need to come down and to realize what's going on here right now. Yeah. I need my time, and please. Of course, I can understand it 100%. Me as well. Normally, I post everyday stuff every day, but right now I think, okay, I post just, I don't know, 4 times a week. Okay. Sometimes I need time for myself
because how exciting, and again, I'm not talking about you here, but how exciting is it sitting in my studio in joggers, like listening to kick drums, you know what I mean? Like looking for samples. Like it's not as exciting as landing in Ibiza or arriving at Ministry of Sound or where my new record is, or like a lot of DJs have been, I think we've all found that that's the majority of our content is about what we do, like, and not maybe enough about our personalities. I don't know, like it is difficult. But I'd like to ask you, you've already sort of answered this question, but 2021, what can people expect from Lovra in 2021?
Way more music. I always do right now a radio mix and my club mix. So, and this is the start of this transformation. So, and yeah, a lot of more love tapes. I'm doing a lot of mixtapes, and I call it, since they want love tapes. So a lot of love tapes, my podcast, hopefully a lot of nice shows that we all can see each other again and to spread the good vibes. And I'm pretty sure everyone was going to freaking out for the first show.
Yeah, I think so. Right, so I'm going to, as we start to wrap up the show, before we start doing some of the things that I like to do to end the show, tell people where they can find out more about you. Hit me with social handles, websites, anything you want. Just give people some links to find out more about you.
Yes, on Instagram, Lovra, Facebook, Lovra, SoundCloud, Lovra.
You nailed
it. Just Lovra everywhere. And Spotify, Lovra, Apple Music, Amazon, everywhere with Lovra. So just put Lovra on Google and you will find a lot.
Good skills, good branding skills there.
Right. You always can write me because always give answers. I don't care. Everywhere on my socials.
Well, I have to say, Lovra, I was aware of your music, but we had no personal connection prior to this. And I think, yeah, I messaged you just saying, hey, like, you know, I'd love to speak to you on the podcast. I've spoken to these people, and you got back to me super fast. So I can vouch for that. The communication skills are there. Drop her a message and I'm sure she'll get back to you. Let me ask you, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, because, I'm super thankful that people listen to my music, and this is just a small piece I can give back. This is a message, or, this is everything. This is just a small piece of what I can give back for the support.
So I'm going to hit you with a few more quick fire type questions. Favorite club that you have played so far in your career?
This is also a heavy question. The favorite club. I really love Ministry. The sound system is sick. The crowd is sick. So, and in Germany, I would say also Harry Klein in Munich.
Nice.
Has also good, nice nights here at Kit Kat Club in Berlin. I mean, we know, but I'm playing always techno over there, and it's also crazy. All the people gonna dance and going crazy. I love it. I had a lot of good shows in a lot of nice clubs. I can't pick one.
No, that's great. I love Ministry as well. I've been to Kit Kat Club, but I haven't been to the other one. If you got post-COVID, you get an email from your manager or a text or whatever, and you've got a booking, and you're going to be playing, let's just say Ministry because you picked it, right? You're going to be warming up for someone at Ministry. You're going to be going on maybe like 1 till 2 or something, I don't know, or maybe 11 till 1 in the main room. And you just get that email and you read the name of the artist that you're warming up for, and you just think, yes, this is perfect. I'm going to go, I'm going to play exactly the kind of music that I want. And as soon as I take my headphones out, I'm going to either stay in the booth, that big, lovely booth with the bit to the side at Ministry, and I'm going to watch them, or I'm going to be down in the floor or in the VIP just having the best time because I love their music. Who is that DJ that you just think, this couldn't be more perfect for me to warm up for them?
Wow, this is also a difficult question. Cool. I mean, of course, Clapton. Also, Dennis Cruz.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. I think that's a good answer. I'd take that.
Yeah.
Is there a record which has influenced you the most over your career? Is there something that you keep going back to listen to when you're producing? Is there something that you keep playing, like that just stays in your sets all the time? Is there a record that, yeah, has influenced you in your career as a producer and as a DJ so far?
It's not in my DJ set all the time, but it's something what influenced me since day one is Show Me Love from Robin S.
Yes.
This kind of house music is, I love it. Yeah.
Shout out to Stonebridge, because I think it's the Sten mix, isn't it, that everyone sort of references as that version.
And I got vinyls of it right now. Yeah.
Yes, I think mine's behind me. So second last thing we're going to do, I would like you to curate a dream gig. So you're going to pick where it is. It can be somewhere that you've been or you've played, like, Ushuaia or Ministry or whatever, or it can just be like generic, like a huge festival on the beach or a small underground club, but you're going to choose where this party's taking place. We're going to have 3 acts. It's not so much warm up, middle and headline. It's kind of 3, co-headlines. You can play back to back, or you can just pick your lineup and enjoy it. But Lovra, I want to know where this dream gig is going to take place.
It's maybe it's maybe in Thailand.
Nice.
a big
On
festival.
where they have the half moon party on the beach in Koh Phangan.
Yeah, or also, or maybe in the east, maybe in Romania or something like that.
Nice.
First, we have a big festival. It's going crazy. We have a good time, and after that, we have the after party in a really small underground club. So
Okay.
this, so we have both.
Okay, and who's playing?
Who is playing? So I would have 3 stages. House music means not too poppy. That more classy house maybe. So like Glitterbox, and then I have a tech house stage. Yeah, I mean with underground, classical underground club artists, and yeah, just kind of 2-room artists, this kind of stuff. And then I have a techno stage. Definitely a techno stage, yeah. For every festival, it's very important stage as well. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
The last
house.
thing, cool. The last thing then I'm going to ask you to do is to name a record to play out the audio version of the podcast, and I will try to link it on the YouTube version. So we've been having a lovely chat for an hour. People have been listening to your story and listening about your career and what's to come. And I would just like you to introduce a record that people are going to listen to close out the podcast. It can be one of yours. It can be your most recent record. It can be one of yours from the past. It can be something you heard this morning. It can be something from it can be Show Me Love. It can be anything you like. It's totally up to you. But you get to pick the record, introduce it, and tell people why you think they should listen to it now.
Of course, for my latest release, The Way I Do, the club mix, because there you can start to feel a little bit more where I want to go. And I also go a little bit crazy about from Marco Ferreno on Crico, Armageddon. This is super fresh. I really, really love it. What can be out? Do you have something?
I think well no, I'm going to do it in post, so I'll do it afterwards. So I think I'll play the club mix of The Way I Do, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that would be very nice. Thank
Amazing.
you.
Well, Lovra, it has been an absolute delight to speak to you. I can't wait to hear your new music. I can't wait to listen to your new podcast. And I really hope that at some point next year, we bump into each other in Ibiza and everyone's dancing and having a great time. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me, and I'll see you again soon.
Thank you so much. Mwah.